Texas, Abilene Reporter News City Council debate.
Election season is in full swing here in the Big Country, and tonight we focus on the city of Abilene. Good evening, everyone. I'm Will Jensen.
And I'm Veronica Soto, and of course joining us, Greg Jacklowitz from the Abilene Reporter News, who is joining us in this debate. And of course, the candidates running for City Council Place 5. You have two-term incumbent Cal McAllister, community advocate Cynthia Alvidrez, and Abilene attorney Corey Clements.
So tonight, when we start a debate, we'll begin with opening statements from each of the candidates, and then we'll go in order as their names appear on the ballot. So Kyle, we'll start with you.
All right, thank you for having us here this evening. I appreciate the opportunity. My name is Kyle McAllister. I am running for re-election to Abilene, to Abilene City Council Place 5. It has been my honor and privilege to serve the citizens of Abilene for the past 6 years. For almost the past 30 years, my wife and I have lived here in Abilene. For most of that time, we have been homeowners. We have paid taxes. We have a vested interest in this community. And so when things like taxes come before the City Council, it doesn't affect somebody else, it affects me. And that allows me, as a steward of taxpayer dollars, to really make sure that we focus on what we need, not necessarily what we want. Also, I've had the opportunity to raise both my daughters here, and if you have kids or grandkids, you know that it's important that they be safe. And so one of the things that I have done on City Council is to make sure that our streets are safe, both as far as the street itself, but also the protection that our police officers have and our firefighters as well. Election Day is May 4th. I look forward to visiting with you and hope to have your vote on May the 4th.
Corey, now if you can have your opening statement for us, please.
My name is Corey Clements, and I'm an attorney here in Abilene, Texas. I hope to bring the same skill set that I use in the courtroom, representing clients every day, to the City Council, representing each of you when it comes to being stewards of your taxpayer dollars. I hope to redirect our focus here in this city on the business of the city, and by partnering with business and the private sector and the small businesses here locally to bring jobs here to Abilene. I'm happy to have the endorsements of both the Abilene Professional Firefighters Association as well as the Abilene Police Officers Association, and I hope to have the ability to earn your vote when early voting starts next Monday, April 22nd. Election Day is May 4th, and I hope that you'll vote for me, Corey Clements, Abilene City Council Place 5.
Thank you, Corey. And now, Cynthia, your opening statement.
Hello, my name is Cynthia Alvidrez, and I'm from Abilene, Texas, born and bred. I am an active community advocate. I would like a chance to be on the City Council to be able to provide equal representation to all those within our community. I received my bachelor's in sociology from McMurray University in 2012 after being honorably discharged from the Department of the United States Army. In 2014, I received a master's of rehabilitation counseling degree from Texas Tech University Health Science Center, and I'm currently enrolled into a pre-doctoral degree program through Fielding University in hopes of eventually obtaining a clinical psychology doctorate. I hope to earn your vote for City Council Place 5, and I look forward to representing everyone in the community.
Okay, so let's begin with our first question tonight, and this will go to Kyle. There were controversial posts on your Facebook page that came to the public's attention in January. There were calls for your resignation, but you did not resign and instead ran again. Would you talk about that?
Yes. When the posts were brought to my attention at the first part of January, I addressed those posts. I went online. I removed those posts. I am apologetic and very sorry for any hurt or grief or angst that I caused anyone. It was never my intention. As far as stepping down, I had many Abilenians ask me not to step down. Many Abilenians asked me to stay and to fight. The group that brought this to light, I think, felt like that if they were loud enough, they were counting on me to either step down or to not seek re-election, and they counted wrong. I am not a quitter. I was elected by the citizens of Abilene to fulfill my term. I will fulfill this term, and I have full faith and confidence in the Abilene voters that they will allow me to continue to serve them on the Abilene City Council.
So, Cynthia, do you think Kyle should have resigned?
Yes, I do think he should have resigned, and I'm actually disgusted that he decided to run again. It's obvious that he possesses some racial biases, and when you're in a position as he is and has been for the last several years, there is no way that you're going to be able to not only create policies but implement those policies and be able to have the best interest of the entire community at hand. So yeah, extremely disappointed that he didn't resign and disgusted that he decided to rerun for City Council.
Corey, your response.
Look, my response is I think that a resignation is a very personal decision, and that's something that each of you would make on your own. I think any council person would make that decision if they were put into the position that Mr. McAllister was. I won't take a position on what he should have done, but what I'll tell you is I think that the citizens will hold people accountable, hold the elected officials accountable at the ballot box where it matters. And if that is what if they feel that he should have resigned, then they'll vote accordingly May 4th.
Well, stemming from that same issue, we would like to ask you if you think there is any racial tensions, cultural divide in the city of Abilene. And recently, Mayor Anthony Williams addressed the issue in the State of the City address. And Cynthia, I'll let you go first.
I'm sorry, repeat the question?
Sure. So do you think there is currently racial tensions, cultural divide, like in so many other cities across the U.S.? Does that exist in Abilene, in your opinion?
Of course it does. It existed before his comments. He just brought that to light. If anyone had the opportunity to stand at the City Hall when those comments were being addressed, you could cut the racism in that room with a knife. And again, it is unfortunate that a council member has divided our community. I would say we had issues before, but he was the deciding factor and divided those lines so clearly. And again, it is disgusting that he continues to want to represent a city when it wasn't just a group of people that brought this, it was the entire community that brought his post to light. And again, no one should have even had to bring those to his attention because he was the one that posted them. So I'm just kind of confused as to that statement within itself. But yeah, definitely, it was here before he made those comments, and it's definitely here now that those came to light. So.
And Kyle, how do you argue that?
How do I argue? I guess I'm not understanding. You want me to answer your question or her statement?
So do you feel currently there are racial tensions in the city of Abilene, and do you argue what Cynthia is saying about you?
Yes, there are racial issues. There always have been, and whether mine was the catalyst or not, some people say it was. Other people, I've heard other people say it's always been there. I wish that we would have had a discussion on the front end of this. That would have been my wish. Now, we don't always get our wishes. I do wish there had been some discussion. If someone had come to me and said, hey, Kyle, do you not understand? And then we could have had a discussion. Yelling and screaming and storming out of a council meeting is not the way to get anything done. I voted for the censure on myself, okay? We've had two of those. I have voted for both of those. And so I do understand the seriousness of what I said, and I understand the seriousness of how it was perceived. I do think that this will allow us to move forward, sit down at a table or over coffee or whatever, and move forward to address some of these issues.
Corey, your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are that there's definitely racial tension in this country. There's racial tension in every city across Texas and in every city across the country. And there will be as long as we continue to ignore it as an issue entirely, or as long as we continue to only apologize for those other people being offended. I think that it's important that we take time to understand what is it about statements like that. Why is it that it affects other people? Why is it that it is so hurtful to them and to other people, and frankly to everyone of every race? Why there are people in every race that are offended by that. I think until you understand that and make an effort to understand that, we're not even trying to fix the problem. And so yes, I believe there is tension, and frankly, it's my understanding that people did try to talk to Mr. McAllister about those things over the years, and certainly it wasn't 10 years ago. It was recently as well.
All right, moving on to our next question. It's about the downtown hotel. Do you think it would be the economic catalyst that's been promoted? Corey, let's start with you on this one.
Well, that answer is not just yes or no. I think it could be. The economic catalyst it could be, as the mayor has described how it would be financed, with the private sector bringing in $40.5 million of their own money, putting that and injecting it directly downtown. You've got $7.5 million of private citizens' money they're willing to put up to see this thing through, just to help make the deal. And then there's another $1.5 million in TIF and TERS funds that are sitting there, and they can't really be used for just anything. So after you add all those, there's another small slice of about $7 to $8 million that would be needed to put up in order to make the hotel work. But that would then be paid back by the taxes that hotel generates. So in other words, if that hotel doesn't exist, those taxes don't exist. So we're not taking money from anywhere else. We're not expending taxpayers' dollars frivolously. It could be a good investment that brings 133 jobs to the city.
All right, Kyle?
Yes. The downtown hotel will be a great catalyst for our downtown area. We have seen already development downtown, several projects that are breaking ground and in the process of coming to fruition. Total price tag of about $66 million. That's being pumped into our economy. So I think this is going to be a great catalyst for our downtown area to bring in new jobs, but also bring in tourists, conventions to our city, which help the economy all the way around.
And Cynthia, your thoughts on this?
Absolutely not. We've had private developers back out of this deal. We've had county commissioners reject this deal. And from what I'm being told, it's more than what Corey is saying. And of course, Mr. McAllister obviously has some rose-colored glasses on. These are taxpayer dollars that are going to be going into this hotel. And so if we can't even fix our infrastructure right now. We have recreation centers that are falling down. One in particular, the Adaptive Recreation Center, which houses about 140 individuals with disabilities on a daily basis. That's not even ADA compliant. So I think before we exhaust our taxpayer dollars into a hotel that people are strategically backing out of because it's not a good idea, I think we need to focus more so on our infrastructure. And for those of you who don't know, this is not a bond election. This is a certificate of obligation, which means when it does come to the table, we don't have a choice in the matter. So no, I don't.
Thank you.
So our next question is about the taking care of our streets, one of those things that we're trying to get done. A street maintenance fee began in January, and it's the first step. But what else do you think that's a good idea? And what else needs to be done to ensure that the state of our streets don't get as bad as they've become?
Well, you know, last year we put in about $800,000 for street maintenance in the city of Abilene, and this year it's up to $5.5 million. So yes, this is a great step forward. We have neglected our streets. Councils in past, folks in the past have not set aside enough money for whatever reason that our streets have not been taken care of. What we have found is that our streets have gotten so bad that we've got to catch up. Now, once we get caught up and then we have a system in place, we will have a system in place where every street gets looked at on a regular basis, and that way, once we get them to a good level, then hopefully we're not having to bring them all up at once, and it won't be as arduous of a task as it is right now. But fixing our streets is what I hear every day, and we have taken the first step. It's not a perfect process. We do have some issues, and we're still working through those, but it is a great step in the right direction.
And Cynthia?
I am glad to see that the city is actually taking initiative now into getting the roads fixed, but I do have questions as to why. Is it because they're wanting this downtown hotel? Mr. McAllister has served on the council in the years which our streets have not been fixed, and so for him not to have answers as to why the streets aren't fixed is extremely concerning to me as a citizen, and it will be as a city council member. And so it's obvious that the city council has dropped the ball. It's obvious that Mr. McAllister has dropped the ball in his representation on the city council, and it's obvious that our infrastructure at this point is not at the forefront of our city council members' minds and decisions. For whatever reason, this hotel continues to be shoved down our throat, and I think that we really do need to step back and figure out, one, why is that, and two, why is our infrastructure coming second to this hotel that's going to put a lot of money in individual and private investors' pockets?
And finally, Corey.
The question was, one, is it a good idea? And two, what else needs to be done? And first of all, it's not that it's a good idea, it's that it's the only idea that we have to work with at this point. Like Mr. McAllister admits, the streets have been neglected for the past 5 years he was on council until they fixed it this year. That's just like any of us in our home budgets. We have to budget for things that are temporary, like a street. My tires, they're going to go out, and I have to make sure I've got money to buy new tires. There's things like that that you have to just budget in for. And so what needs to happen? What else needs to happen? What else needs to happen is we budget for those streets every year, and we make sure that we retire this tax that was taxed on us because of the misappropriation of money, and frankly, that's happened for the last several years that got us to this point.
Moving on, well, this season we've heard a lot about bringing higher paying jobs to the city of Abilene, and we would like to know what that means for you and what are some of your ideas to help bring them here. And we'll start with Cynthia.
Obviously, higher paying jobs is an issue here, not our unemployment rate. And so bringing in these new jobs with this hotel that they keep wanting to shove down our throat is not going to be the answer to our problems. We need higher paying jobs. And honestly, I would like to see the city of Abilene take that initiative with our city employees, considering that we continue to cut their insurance or make them pay more for their insurance. We're cutting their retirement. We have Abilene police officers and Abilene fire personnel who cannot even retire comfortably, who can't afford their insurance coverage. And so I would like to see the city of Abilene take initiative and draw people in with higher paying jobs. I think that would be a step in the right direction. This hotel with 100 some odd jobs that people can't even sustain a quality of life on is not the answer, but the city of Abilene taking initiative and providing higher paid jobs, I think, is one solution to that problem.
Kyle, we'll let you answer that question now.
Well, good paying jobs is something that we all want. I think we have done a very good job of attracting new companies coming in. We've got the new dog food company that has come in. We've got a new project going in out by the airport. We have infill development, which is very important to make sure that we fill the inner part of the city, not just on the outskirts, although that's important as well. It is a challenge to make sure that our jobs are good paying jobs and that we can attract new workers. The other thing that we really want to focus in on is making sure that we retain workers because one new job here and then we lose one there doesn't really work. And so what we're doing is we're trying to make this a more business friendly environment where businesses, it's easier for them to apply for the loan or for the permits that they need. It's easier for them to fill out the paperwork that they need, and we have done that with some online materials to make it easier for businesses to do business here in Abilene.
Corey, what can you add to that?
What I'd add to that is this. The bottom line is we've got to get out of the way of business. I have a friend right now trying to move her law firm, and the amount of money she's injected into that thing just to get open. And it's a nice building. It's not an old building that they're trying to renovate. It's a nice building. It's just been an impediment to getting anything done. And so the question was, what can we do? How do we get out of the way of business? And to Ms. Alvidrez's point, the city of Abilene should just do it. I mean, I don't understand whether we should just give out money. Should we just write it out of the budget and just pay money to raise employees' salaries that work for the city? That's not going to work. We need something that's going to influence the private sector to bring those jobs here, just like this hotel. I said 133. I think it's 127. I misspoke. Those jobs come here. Those are the direct jobs. Then you've got indirect jobs that are coming. And what we've got to do is get out of the way of business so that they can afford to pay these people money. They're sustainable jobs.
When you say get out of the way of business, I don't understand whenever you're talking about taxpayer dollars. So what exactly do you mean getting out of the way of business whenever it's our taxpayer dollars that's going to be thrown into this hotel? Do you not think that that's something that we should pay attention to?
Go ahead and answer that.
Am I able to answer that question? Okay, thank you. Well, what I mean, Ms. Alvidrez, is we've got to make sure that when a new business wants to open here, when they need when we are looking at the regulatory things that they have to do in order to open their doors, we need to be able to stair-step those things. We need to be able to give them time, not necessarily a brand new parking lot right now, but give them time a few months, a few years to open their doors to make money that can sustain paying for a new parking lot on that building. or abate taxes for a period of time if they're a productive business, bringing in jobs, bringing in money, to where that they can sustain the revenue it takes to pay the full amount of taxes that a business should be paying there. And that increases our tax base, and it provides sustainable employment. It isn't just paying somebody a job and raising their wage that we're going to have to pay for every single year. This is an investment early on to make sure that business can sustain the employment that they would be bringing here.
So are you saying that our our employees that are employed by the City of Abilene don't deserve a pay raise, considering they can't even?
I'm sorry, we have to move on.
But it's kind of interesting, y'all are asking each other questions here, because that's what we're going to do right now. From here, we want to know what questions you, the candidates, have for one another. And so we want to give you each an opportunity to ask one candidate a single question. And Corey, we'll start with you on this.
Well, I'm going to take a page out of Mayor Williams' book when he was running, and I would ask Ms. Alvidrez, what is one positive thing that you could say about me or my candidacy for City Council Place 5?
Well, Mr. McAllister has obviously done some good things in his term as a council member. It's just unfortunate that what he has done recently has overshadowed that. As far as you, Mr. Clements, I'm not really sure, considering how you and your campaign manager wanted to distance yourself from the Hispanic community, and I'm not sure if that was strategic to get you in here. I'm not sure if you're a transplant to get this hotel pushed. Honestly, there's really not much I could say, because I don't really know you on a personal level, nor do I know you on a professional level. So you seem like a nice guy, so I'm not really sure if that's how you want me to answer that question.
All right, Kyle, who would you like to ask a question?
I would, I guess, with Corey. Corey, you had indicated single-member districts, and you had indicated having a single-member district. Well, explain. You mentioned that earlier, so explain to me again how your idea of single-member districts would go.
Sure. And so, like I mentioned at the last forum, or the Hispanic Leadership Council forum, I'm not necessarily in favor of changing everything we've done, but what I am in favor of doing is looking, is there a way to draw the lines of where people live in a different way? I think at-large voting is is the way to do this, but just make sure that everyone has a representative in their neighborhood. So we could put the city in quadrants, for instance, and have 4 for each of the quadrants, and then 2 at large with the mayor, and then 1 city councilman at large. That could live anywhere in the city. But I think the voting should be at large, but there should be equal representation rather than just drawing a line across the top of the city.
All right, Cynthia, your turn to ask a question.
My question is for Mr. McAllister. How much taxpayer dollars is going to go into this hotel?
I wrote all my numbers down here. Let me find it here. It's a $66 million project. Oh, wrong page. So 23 million of it is from the city. 18 of that is from certificates of obligation. Then we have another $1 million from the TIF and the TERS, and then we have some private dollars coming in the form of foundations, and then we have. And that's not 66, and then we do have some money that's being kicked in from the convention center, some of the improvements for the convention center.
So $23 million of taxpayer dollars. What happens if this hotel runs a loss? Where is that money going to come from?
Well, if the hotel runs a loss, then we have the option to sell the hotel.
Right, and if that's not an option, does it then come out of our general fund, out of our budget? So where is that money going to come from if this hotel is a flop?
If the hotel's a flop, we will sell the hotel.
If we can't sell it, are taxpayers going to be responsible for fitting that bill?
I don't have a crystal ball.
Yes.
I'm going to cut you there. Thank you. And you have 30 seconds to answer this last question. Is there anything that you left unsaid tonight, or you would like to respond to something that you didn't get an opportunity to? And we'll go with Kyle first.
Yes, a couple things. First off, both Corey and Cynthia indicated that folks had come and talked to me about these posts beforehand. Not true. The folks that were yelling and screaming that night had never approached me. Corey indicated that we had misappropriation of money for streets. Misappropriation is a pretty heavy term. We have not misappropriated any dollars. All of our budgets are available online. People can look at them and see exactly what we have spent. And district at large, I don't think Mr. Clements really understands how districts are drawn out. You can't just pick quadrants. They're drawn by the Department of Justice.
If you vote for Kyle, you're voting for Corey. You're getting the same exact guy. You got one over here with racial biases. You have one over here who distanced himself from the Hispanic community because of the way that it was going to affect his campaign. Mr. McAllister was correct in that Corey Clements has no idea how a single-member district works, nor does he have an idea as to how at-large districts are oppressive to certain communities. So you need to take that into consideration. Another thing you need to take into consideration is $23 million of our taxpayer dollars is going to be footed for this hotel. And in the event that this hotel is a flop, we will be responsible as taxpayers to get that money paid back.
Okay. And I definitely understand how these things work. What I want to portray in this campaign is there's a way that we can all come to the table and look at different ways of doing things. And that's what the ideas are. That's what we need is new ideas. And as far as distancing myself from the Hispanic community, it's just simply not true. And I think there's several folks in the Hispanic community that will probably take offense to that. And I would assume will be standing up to say that's just not the way it's been.
All right, thank you, and thank you to all the candidates who joined us tonight. And again, tomorrow we're going to talk to candidates for City Council Place 6.
Election Day is May 4th. Early voting begins April 22nd. Thank you for watching tonight. You can rewatch this debate on our website, ktxs.com. Hope you have a good evening.
Thank you for watching the KTexas Abilene Reporter News City Council debate.